Welcome back to CX in the Wild. It is so great to be back in the United States, back in the studio, and with a very special guest. Today's guest is John Finch, the Global Vice President of Product Marketing at RingCentral. With over 2 decades of experience in strategic marketing across cloud computing, customer success, and CRM, he's now helping the world adapt to the new normal of AI. Today, we're going to be talking about RingCentral's new AI report that's dropping in January and what changes to expect in your customer experience, delivery, and CCaaS. Welcome to the show, John. Thank you for being the first guest back. I feel like I'm always at home with RingCentral. How are you, sir?
Great, Dennis. Thanks for having us. I really appreciate it. Super excited to talk to you today and happy that you're back in the States for a minute.
For a minute, yes. Just before getting on a plane in an hour. But John, let's just contextualize this whole conversation. I got to be honest, I'm really over talking about AI with most people, but you were like one of the few voices I thought, going into 2025, here's a great conversation. You've been doing a lot of research. You're working on this AI report. I've got to believe you've been digging in some really great places. Can you give us a sort of overview on what's about to come from the report?
Absolutely. A little bit out on the report. You're right, Dennis. AI has sort of been the big thing for the last couple of years. And, lots of conversations we have with, especially when you're in the technology world with your friends and colleagues and, even just general folks and outside of technology is really about what AI is doing for them. And, somebody made a statement this morning to me, which I found very interesting. It's very prolific, even in students and young people that are sort of the up and coming generation. And they're using AI applications of different sorts that are helping them, students in their work that they're doing at university and colleges. And so this next generation, the expectation of AI is just that it's a table stake, right? And the innovation needs to continue to evolve. And this is one of the things that we tried to draft with the report and answering the questions that we did with the 625 respondents that we got was, what did they think that in business communications AI was going to do? And where were they going to invest in this? And, as a sort of a customer service expert or one that found myself in this particular space over the last couple of decades, it's very interesting to sort of see this evolution occur as well. And so AI becomes this table stake, but what's the next thing for this? And that's what we're trying to ascertain. We're trying to understand through this research, what is it that businesses are going to start investing in? What is the C-suite interested in? What is middle management, if you will, interested in terms of measuring to their KPIs and business performance? And how do they measure collaboration and communications and customer service and sales? And so that's what the impetus of this research was to get RingCentral's first party research out there, start to put a stake in the ground so we could start measuring how this was evolving over time. And we're going to continue to do this report year over year, maybe even more frequently of half years, and publish this. And we'll be able to sort of start to see some benchmarks in how it's performing and how it's evolving over time. So I'm pretty excited about that.
You covered so much there. What I really liked about what you said is whether it's students or middle management or C-suite leaders, we all have a different part of the life cycle of AI that we're on, and we're all required to use it to a different capacity, if you will. Students can be very creative with AI, where I think a business manager has to be very functional with AI. And as you're talking to these groups of folks, do you have a sense of which, in let's say the beginning of 2025, which of these groups will be the fastest adopters or will get the most value out of these AI tools? What's your perspective on that?
Well, I think generally we see a lot of customer service and customer experience really seeing a huge benefit from this. And I'll start there because it doesn't leave business communications out, meaning collaboration amongst employees and, even communication with external partners and, sales activities. But really, we start to look at revenue generation, reduction in churn of customers, which is key for every business of every sort, and the continued upsell, if you will, opportunities with new products and services. And that's what keeps the business world going, as we all know. And so customer service sees the biggest ROI in this, right? And it's not necessarily about cost-cutting measures to get rid of people. It really is about providing the insights that the business needs to be able to make changes. It provides the automation that could be necessary inside of that to change behaviors, to enhance performance, and to understand basically if the product is working correctly or not, whatever is being sold into the marketplace, or how you might want to change it in your business plans. And then thirdly, it's sort of the ability to take this data and do more with it. I think that's sort of the visionary piece, is how do you get to this next level of all this amazing data that's being collected, not only from textual interactions, but also transcriptions that happen in voice interactions, and leverage that information and those insights to improve your business. So it really is that insight, the automation to cut costs, and really gather all that information that was just once written in notebooks and people's emails, in multiple presentations that you could never find from last year, and assemble it in a way that really helps the business improve their business and improve customer service and then improve sales. Those are the things that we're starting to see. And those are the investments that I believe from the research that people are starting to kind of see is leading into this AI adoption. It's more than just business communications. It's what does business communications do, and how can you take it further from that?
So much of what you're saying is about perception versus reality. I think that AI will become a new point of clarity for so many businesses. In call centers in particular, they have such an interesting environment of collaboration that you can sort of get a really strong groupthink or intuition, understanding about what's happening across a number of agents, across clients. Soon as something happens, one agent tells another agent, tells another agent. And all of these communications become this sort of integrated knowledge, but it only lives with those people for that moment, as you said. And what I also think is that with AI and the tools you're describing, be able to look over all of those conversations, look over all of the business intelligence. What I think it will do is bring a kind of clarity and confirmation or reality check that what we thought was happening in the business may or may not have been happening. So I think there's that. But I think in this perception of reality, so many people are talking about how AI is going to replace humans. And what I find fascinating is I don't think anybody ever really has addressed how frustrated the humans are in these environments. I think before we see the replacement of humans, what we're going to see is agent retention increase.
Yep.
Because now the decrease of frustration, all of these things are going to happen from AI. So I think that there will be even though there's this rush and swell of AI momentum, I think it's going to bring short-term era of peace and calm where people are finally like, okay, this is what's really happening. Okay, I can serve my customers. Am I even at all, is your research supporting what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. It does. And there's other research that's out there too from some big analyst firms that are starting to kind of see these trends as well in those research. So as we sort of correlate that data, Dennis, is exactly what you're saying. I mean, I think it's about, folks coming in that are really good at building relationships, and those customer service agents have the propensity to foster those relationships for bigger sales opportunities, right? You can use an airline as an example. So you use an intelligent virtual agent as an example, as a single entry point into customer service for any business. That intelligent virtual agent can basically take either a voice, contextual, or text-based, I should say, interaction and do what's the next best thing for that person. So like if you're needing to rebook that trip that you're going to get on in a day or two, you could actually contact that either via the web or some textual-based format or call in, and that's going to recognize you without bringing an agent on. It's going to give you a human-like interaction like we're now all used to with a lot of the chat GPT and other forms of AI that are out there for us to consume, and then be able to be that single window into how I get service based on how I was maybe serviced before, and be able to make that change on that ticket without ever having to wait in a queue for an agent to get in line with you and then have system issues, right? And take, 30 minutes versus 5 minutes to rebook that ticket. And then that agent's freed up because they don't have to deal with that anymore. But you're going to call and say, hey, airline, I need to speak to an agent because I'm going to book my year out. And I want to understand if there's some deals that they've got and build a relationship with Dennis as he's traveling the world and he doesn't have a travel agent. So you're able to actually have a better interaction with that agent who is willing to build that relationship with you, and their time is freed up to do that for the business versus doing kind of those mundane things. And that alleviates a lot of frustrations. And that's where we see things going, right? And then the knowledge base is all there, the information is all there, and then it just continues to spawn from there. The knowledge and the information gets better, the processes get better, et cetera, et cetera. It's a perfect world scenario, but that's where we're headed.
John, and this is why I wanted to speak to you. I'm always just super excited when someone says something and I'm thinking, I didn't even see that coming, but it just is so true. I can't even believe it. The idea that AI that was supposedly going to replace humans is now going to be the facilitator of the highest touch personalization. You will call me, I'm your agent. I'm like, hey, John, yeah, now that we don't have to do all that other stuff, let's talk about what you want to do for the rest of the year. That level of human to human personalization has literally been what we've been trying to use all of these automation tools for the last 15 years to accomplish. And it all just gets right back to human conversation.
Yep.
That's fascinating. Let's jump around here let's talk about some of your key findings. What did you find in terms of trends, stats?
Yeah, I mean, some of it we just spoke about, right? I mean, we found that, integration across businesses, we're finding a lot of organizations, the 4 key areas of where they're investing in AI is customer conversations, as we talked about. It's personal interaction. So, me inside of my organization with other employees across different departments, me with partners, me with folks like yourself in the industry. Sales discussions is another big one, the third in order, being able to actually sell and understand close rates and propensity to buy and lots of other metrics that were very difficult to ascertain and very manual in general through conversations and sales team meetings and deal analysis, right? So it starts to become AI centric in that nature. And the fourth one is really product development, right? So I mentioned that in the opening, which is how do I make my product or service better? What kinds of things are people saying? What are they saying about competition when they call in? Are there price points? Are we wrong in our pricing? Do we need to run promotions? So those were kind of the top 4 areas that we see integration or context of AI across these organizations. I was just going to say, but we also saw there are some concerns too, right? So of these things, a lot of folks, the top of the line here really is data and security concerns, right? So being able to look at that and understand that as a provider, we sort of knew this and we know this generally about AI, but how do we hone in on that and make people more comfortable? What kind of rules, regulations, different procedures and processes do we put in place on products to ensure that organizations feel comfortable and confident and can pass those tests that we have to do in those, sort of security measures. And then, high implementation costs were a concern. And then in addition to that, it's just kind of limited knowledge of what AI can do for businesses. Those are the top 3 sort of concerns out of a list of about 10 of them that we asked our respondents.
I'm going to jump back to what you said about product and innovation.
Yeah.
Sales. It's almost like the perfect storm for product teams. What I found over the last year is, I think prior to last year, I think we were getting sort of the cloudy skies for customer experience consultants or internal teams. We're really struggling to get there. We came out of this era of journey mapping, which great for team building, but didn't really have the teeth to get CX to take root in a lot of organizations.
Yeah.
And then I think we had a little bit of a year there where we're all like, how are we going to make CX really work inside an organization? And over this last year, everywhere I've gone where CX takes root in the product teams, it starts to go across the organization, because the product teams are the teams that have the permission to work across the silos. They have incentives to bring multiple key stakeholders into the conversations. And they typically have a history of doing this. So they have internal alliances. And to hear what you're saying, it's so true. To be able to leverage AI to make those teams stronger, it's going to be a really fun year for customer experience professionals, strategists,
Yeah, I think so. I think that's absolutely right. And you start to think about it just logically, and you can see where AI really is going to have that impact, right? It's that insights and it's that automation and it's assisting, in you and making changes, assisting agents in performing better, assisting salespeople and selling more faster, right? And those are the big tranches. And we always use too here at RingCentral, we always use this sort of phrase that, to your point of embedded in the contact center and embedded in the technology itself, is fit to purpose, right? So we're not selling AI for AI's sake. It is built to improve in these specific disciplines that unified communications as a service combined with contact center as a service provide to businesses. So we're not selling AI just to say, hey, AI is going to solve all your problems, because that's not what we're in the business of. We're in the business of, I'm a business, I have a customer service issue, I have related cost issues, I know I want to do SaaS, but how do I improve my customer satisfaction? How do I increase my sales volume? How do I get my teams to collaborate better and save costs so that they're all using the same systems and I can turn to one vendor to make sure it's always on and always available? Those are the key problems that we still solve. AI is just making that enhancement even greater, and it starts to elevate the performance. It takes away complexities sometimes that were once manual, like quality management, for example, in the contact center side. That's all automated. It's no longer a process and something that a supervisor and an agent have to check off with a physical meeting every week and listening to recordings, all completely automated. Those are the things that AI does fit to purpose.
You know, you talked about being fit to purpose, but also you're talking about RingCentral a little bit. Now, naturally, I love partnering with you throughout the years because of the solution you provide to the market. And what I've always found about the RingCentral solution is it is this simplicity or this elegance of, let's say, strong user experience. But I think it comes across as good customer experiences outwardly, but also internal customers have a great experience with your solution. Since we're talking about RingCentral, can you talk a little bit about what maybe next year we'll see on your platform that people can take advantage of, or what the innovation you'll bring to market is? Are you even safe to say that right now?
I can drop some breadcrumbs for you.
All right.
I think what you're going to start to see is more of what I'm describing, right? So what is this data and how can you use it further? How can you provide an even more enhanced experience for customers, a simplified experience? So imagine, if you will, you're able to, like in Chat GPT, just using it as an example, you're able to show up in the app or on the web and you can speak to it. It will automatically type a question and then it will get the response that you need, or you can physically type a response or type a question and it will give you the response that you're looking for. Imagine if you came to a brand that you did business with on any device, you spoke to it, you typed in information on a question, and you got a full interactive response to that. So think of one window through voice or text to be able to get the response or service level that you need, and then get it quickly and the right answer every time. And then each time that you went back, if you needed to, or you had questions you wanted to buy more, you would then be recognized and ultimately get that personalized experience.
I just want to clarify what I think you said was, are you saying that RingCentral, let's say I'm doing the customer service for brand ABC, and all of these customer conversations are happening, all of this internal experience intelligence is happening inside the call center. You're going to surface a window at ABC website that could be like a virtual agent or a chat bot that also taps in directly to all of this data and allows me to self-serve my own unique personalized experience where I can learn and educate myself about company ABC,
or service or buy something, right? So, I mean, we don't even Google search anymore. I don't, right? I do, but I don't, right? I'm using Google and AI and I'm surfacing AI, right? Or I'm going to Chat GPT, and this is on my personal side, and, doing research and other things like that. I'm using that first, right? I'm seeing what I can get, what I can ascertain. And it's that same level of experience that you should have, or we're going to be expecting to have as consumers with brands. I mean, we talked about multimodal, and that's all great, or omni-channel we use, right? So 20 plus digital channels, voice, whatever, website, messaging, WhatsApp, Facebook, wherever you want to be. But that's all good and that's still necessary. But that one simplified window you can get into to do all this is the one thing people are looking for. And I think that that's the vision we're starting to come out with, is how do we do that, right? And if you think about it, in general, it really comes down to interactive virtual agents, or that level of technology. And it's text-based, it's voice-based, and those interactions are forever going to improve over time. And it's going to know you, recognize you, and provide you with that personalized experience. And then to the point we were talking about earlier, and booking your tickets and getting an agent involved or a human involved to give you that higher level of service for things that are more meaningful for both you and the brand in the future, there could be proactive outreach based on your needs so that an agent will contact you or set up a meeting, and you can do all this through that one window. So a little bit of this is what we're thinking about, but long term, we're building the features, functionalities, and capabilities to do that. And a lot of what the world is going to see from RingCentral is that evolution, is that focus on AI and the innovation at the front end of what we would call a customer intelligence or customer service and customer communications platform, right? One of those. And so it's really about the customer, it's really about servicing, it's really about revenue.
So you talked about this one window to rule them all. And what I love about it is, case in point for me, and you sort of touched on this, which is I don't surf, I don't Google search anymore. The AI does that for me, and I trust the AI to do that. I may not click on a bunch of different places in a website if there's a window and I can just say, hey, company ABC, chatbot, let's talk about the business. Here's my situation. And this conversation can happen. I'll tell you, you did not bring this up, but one thing I learned while traveling through Europe the back half of this year, the Europeans have a much higher adoption rate of these virtual agents, these bots. They like them in many instances and prefer them. And here in the US, I hear a lot of people complain about, have a frustration with these chatbots. And they're the same bots, they're the same technologies. The leaders have the same access to a lot of the same tools. And so I asked one of the CX leaders there, I said, what's the secret to making this work? And they said, oh, it's very simple. When the chatbot comes on, if it says, hi, I'm Dennis, I'm your virtual agent. I'm just a robot who's here to help you, but I'd like to try to help you if you're willing to talk to me. This establishing an honest, authentic connection with the chatbot, it's enough. People think, you know what, maybe I will talk to Dennis today and see what Dennis can do. And now that you can pass to an agent, this technology is so impressive and it's moving so quickly. And I just got to imagine you've got to move twice as fast as the industry. So are you getting any sleep these days?
Not really. I don't think any of us are, but I think what's great about it though is it's super exciting, right? I mean, I've always kind of joked, because contact center and just customer service in general has been around for a long time, right? And I even had a grandfather that was an engineer in the Bell system back in the day, and he would talk about this when I was first joining telecommunications world as a sales guy back when I first graduated from college. And customer service has been around since he was an engineer in the 60s. And so it's one of these things where, we figured out everything. There's nothing more to innovate on. And every freaking year there's something new, right? Or every couple of years. So AI is this next thing. And I think it's exciting. I think unimaginable where this is going to go. I do agree with you in terms of sort of the US in general, and a lot of folks across the world are sort of like, chatbots never really worked. It's sort of the same experience I had with an IVR. They sucked. We always press zero. There's kind of jokes out there about that. We never really got the solve that we needed. Super frustrating, agent, or, just you're not going to get the answer. You type in a question to Dennis and Dennis comes back and says, oh, I don't have access to that information. Call back. We're open Monday through Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. It's like, I need the answer. The next level of this is what you said, is sort of like, hey, I'm Dennis. So the more authentic, humanistic kind of approach to this. And then it's actually having the information on the back end and the integrations with the data and the systems that are necessary to actually conduct the changes and make the transactions occur that are missing. And that is the solve here. And you think about AI and the knowledge base behind it, it needs to have this information and bring it forward. It needs to update the information. It's only as good as where it's reading from, right? And so all of these things are starting to come together. we are understanding that these are requirements to have this very effective, effortless customer experience with an IVA occur. And so we are leaning all in on this. And, many companies are. That, in my mind, in our minds here at RingCentral, has been the deficit up to this point, and we are going to overcome that, and we are already overcoming that with a number of really stellar IVA companies that are out there right now.
You are in the right place at the right time to deliver this new era of data analysis. I mean, that's really what it is. The call center data is probably the richest repository and the fastest growing repository of information for almost any brand in the world. And it's at the closest touch point to the customers. The accuracy that these platforms will be able to bring in terms of, to your point, business intelligence, innovation, sales insights, even communications outgoing to facilitate market growth, marketing, if you will. All of these things are so important, and it's all happening right here in the call center. But what I will say also is everybody is talking about how fast AI is moving, what the future holds, and how cool it is. But I think 2025 will be the year where people who are not on board will miss, because it's almost going to change from novelty to need to have. And so working with a platform like yours that is putting it inside, facilitating this bridge between, I mean, if I'm an executive and I have RingCentral, I'm just like, all right, good, they have it. They're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
Is that really what the future is for all of your customers?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, 97% of those that responded to our survey said that they feel like they need to invest and increase investment by 50 to 75% within the next 2 to 3 years, right? I mean, it's all here. I mean, it's here and now. And I think that's those people that have responded to that 97%, I think would, if conversed with or watched this episode that we're doing today, they would go, wait, let's pull this forward to the next 90 days, right? Because you don't want to be left behind. And as we know, it's competitive out there. And we're dealing with a base of consumers that are less brand loyal than they've ever been before. And so if you have a bad experience, it's not about word of mouth that's going to degrade you. It's many other facets that are going to degrade your business. And people do not have the patience to wait. We no longer have that level of patience to be given a second chance. And so we have to be thinking about it as businesses and how we do this now and how we invest and where we invest. And again, it's not AI for AI's sake, because there's complexity, there's cost, there's security, but it's finding the right vendors for the right problems you're solving with AI that are going to boost the performance of your business.
Let's talk about something you just uncovered there, which is, when I'm a brand and I'm providing a level of customer service, and let's say I want to wait because I look across at my competitive set, I can see from my own research that my competitors, they haven't quite adopted it yet. And maybe I can just wait till one of them gets it. I mean, I don't want to be the fastest. I just don't want to be the slowest.
Yeah.
So that mentality, I think what you just uncovered for me there is, that's great in your competitive set, but it's myopic and it's self-centered. The truth is your customer is going to be getting this sort of customer care from big brands, Coca-Cola, Netflix, Uber, all of the major players who provide great experiences now will have this. So I don't care about your competitors. I want to be in the group of doing business with those who are doing business with me in this new, easier way.
Yep.
And it's just like back in the days, we would look across the competitive set and say, well, nobody in our category has websites, so we don't need them.
Yeah, right.
But here we are. So with all that said, I know I've taken so much of your time and I can't wait for this report. I'm so excited that I'll be able to share this with everyone this new year. Can you just do you have any gems of wisdom in terms of advice for businesses going into 2025 in the first 90 days?
My advice is think about your strategy for for customer service and for sales, and look to vendor solutions that are going to provide not only savings of cost perspective, but an upside in savings in terms of more advanced ROI with better sales, better intelligence across your organization, like we're talking about, and do your due diligence to figure out what's your competitive bend on customer service. Because at the end of the day, those are the revenue generating components of any organization, the lifeblood of any organization. And I think that those are the pieces that businesses really need to invest in now. Get off the technologies that you were using because it just worked. You don't need those anymore. This will simplify everything, and it's easy to deploy. It's more cost effective than you'd ever realize. Pricing is very transparent across all the vendors, and you look at it just from the performance perspective. Businesses out there that, companies that are doing business with RingCentral as an example, the case studies that are out there, what they're actually seeing, the numbers are unbelievable, right? I mean, it's no longer measuring first contact resolution. It's overall, you can measure a CSAT interaction by interaction. And it's a true CSAT, not what's above the water as an iceberg, right? Your happiest customers and your maddest customers. It really is giving you the true information that you need to make better decisions and grow your business.
Well, that is great advice for businesses. My advice, this for listeners and for individuals, is look for this report coming in January from RingCentral. John, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show today. It's a pleasure to be back, and this has been a great first conversation for me.
Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate being here.